tu ne me croiras.
Hi everybody, it's Brittany. Welcome back to my kitchen. So today I decided that I'm going to be redoing the marinara sauce video. I want to make marinara sauce tonight for another recipe, so I decided to just redo it. The lighting quality was really horrible in the first video, so I think it would be, much better and easier for people to watch something that's actually clear. And thanks for watching. Enjoy! Okay, so the ingredients for the marinara sauce is olive oil, sugar, salt, garlic. I'm using one large can, a 28-ounce can of whole peeled tomatoes, and what is this, 16, it's about like a 16-ounce can of also whole peeled tomatoes. You can also use tomato sauce or diced tomatoes, whatever you prefer. Some pepperoncino, some tomato paste. Mine's just defrosting, that's why it looks like this. Okay, so let's get started. I also forgot to mention to use some fresh basil. I'm using a handful of fresh basil. Okay, so I'm getting my pan nice and hot, and I'm going to take the olive oil, and I'm going to put a good amount in there, a few glugs. Okay, so I'm going to add my garlic. And I'm also going to add my pepperoncino. I like a lot because I like it a little hot. And I'm just going to let this go for maybe 1 minute until the garlic really smells very nice and aromatic. So it's been about a minute, and now I'm going to add my tomato paste. I'm adding about 3 heaping tablespoons of tomato paste, and mine's a little bit frozen, so I'm going to let this melt down with the oil, and I'll be back. Okay, I just want to show you, my tomato paste is starting to caramelize a little bit. I know that because the oil is turning a little bit of a red color, and I can hear the tomato paste just sort of popping a little bit. So I know it's getting a nice caramelization, and the reason why we do that is just because we want as much flavor out of this as we can. Okay, so now I'm going to add my whole peeled tomatoes. And of course you can do this with fresh tomatoes as well. And so now what I do, and what you might have already seen me done in my other video, is with clean hands, of course, I just break the tomatoes up. Now, most people will use a bowl and do this beforehand because they don't want to get burnt, but because I am an idiot, I like to stick my hand in hot pans. So I'm going to get these all mashed up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I got most of it mashed up, and then I'll just use my spoon to get the rest, just little bits. And of course, if you don't like chunks of tomato in your sauce, then just go ahead and use tomato puree. This is how I was always taught, and this is what I grew up eating, so I really like the flavor of it, and I like whole tomatoes, and I like chunks of tomatoes. So this is how I'm going to keep it. And another thing I did was I took the tomato can and I just put a little bit of water in it, so there's some leftover, tomato as well, and I'm going to put that in here also. That was probably like maybe a half a cup of water. I'm just going to put some salt in here. Probably about a teaspoon. And I'm going to put a little bit of sugar. That's just because I think using canned tomatoes, the tomatoes are usually a little bit more acidic, so the sugar just helps to balance it out. And now I'm going to cover it and I'm just going to let it cook for about 15 minutes. Before I forget, I'm also going to go ahead and I have my handful of basil. Whoops. Put that in there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to tear it. You can, chop it up, whatever you want to do. And I'm going to just put it in the sauce as well. And then at the end, I'm also going to top it off with some fresh basil. But I want the basil to cook with the sauce for a while because it's going to, go throughout the whole sauce and give it a nice flavor. Okay, so I'm going to let this go and I'll be back. Okay, so I removed the lid and I'm going to let this go without the lid for a good 15 minutes just so it won't be too liquidy and it could thicken up nice. I checked for seasoning. It's really, really well salted and really well, there's enough sugar in it. So I'm going to leave it as B, but this is always to taste. You should always taste your tomatoes. If you feel like they're a little too sour, just add more sugar. And if they're not that sour, then don't add too much sugar. Okay, so I'm going to give the marinara sauce a try for you. It's finished, and I used most of it actually for the eggplant stack, but I'm still going to give it a taste. It's awesome. I love it. It reminds me of being a kid. I hope you give this recipe a try, and if you do, let me know how it works out, and I'll see you next time.
Tu ne me croiras pas, pourtant je te le dis. Moi j'ai au fond de moi un secret de amis.